Hey everyone, how you doing today? Thought I'd show you another update on the starter CV carrier player starter base thing. Anyway, I got a lot more done on this creation since the last time I showed it, which was I believe Wednesday. Now I did want to do a video and show you some of the work that was done on it. I do have a video on my hard drive of about 5.5 hours worth of work done to it, and I haven't really been wanting to upload that, and I don't think anybody would want to watch. It's kind of slow and boring. But the ship is near complete at this point. There's some more to do on it though, so it's not completely done. But to start with, what I did do is I went through the whole underside and textured it better. I removed all the thrusters out of here now and properly textured inside of there and gave it some like labels on how to position the thrusters in. I did paint the top side of the flight deck. Now I did want to go over some questions that were brought up too in the comments on the last video on this. Now, one was talking about a cantilever for the flight deck, and I'm still kind of like, I tried a little something off the front, and I thought it looked hideous, and then I ended up going back to what it is already, but I was basically trying to like extend part of this out over part of the ship, but it looked weird, and it added more blocks to the build too. I'm trying to keep the costs relatively down on it, so not a bad idea, and I'm still going to try to explore messing with the flight deck a little bit, but for the most part, I'm fairly happy with it. It's quite simple. It's a basic flight deck. I do have a location in here to add a repair bay on top as well, and that's going to kind of lead to another question. It was brought up in comments that maybe I should try to go with the Reforged Eden style ramps to lift a creation from the hangar space up to the flight deck. I kind of looked at that a little bit, and the ramps aren't tall enough to do that, and they're not really big enough. And then I was thinking about the logistics of pushing something to the top of the creation from the hangar floor, and you'd have to seal that off. So in comments, it was also suggested to use blast doors for that. Problem with blast doors is they're not actually airtight. I believe they should be, but they're not. So I couldn't lift it high enough up. The ramps really aren't big enough. Maybe you could try to run several at once. Maybe, I don't know if that works out. And then you wouldn't be able to seal it. You would add a lot of cost to the creation. So it was a neat idea. Don't get me wrong. I love to be able to pull something like that off and have it work well. But I don't think this is the build for it. And so it's a neat idea though. I appreciate that. So I'm just telling you basically why I really didn't want to do that. It was a logistical nightmare, and it would take up a lot of hangar space, kind of mess up the top flight deck, put in situations where it's like I don't know how to seal this anymore, or have to introduce in force fields or some other way to do that, which was a higher tier unlock level, and it's just a lot of complications with it. But it's a cool idea. Well, anyway, let's get aboard here, and I'll start to show you all the areas that have been done up on here. Now, I did not rig the ship with sensors yet, so nothing's opening up automatically or anything like that. But anyway, here is the hangar on how it's set up right now, and I did get the full med bay in there. It does need a LCD over there saying med bay and some more LCDs. I'm trying something a little bit different with the doorways going into the shower and toilet area. So they actually both will, since they're right next to each other, they both open up at once when you click on one of them. And they'll automatically open actually when you get close too. But I think I've seen someone else do this design. I really liked it. So I thought I'd try it out on this build, see how that worked out there. But yeah, you got your full medical stuff over here. In comments, it was also brought up that I'd want to put in a lot of fuel tanks and oxygen tanks, and they brought up the point that if you're playing on a server and you're not there all the time, say you're away for a day or two, you come back, everything, like if you have a farm in there, your farm all died because the ship ran out of fuel or air, and yeah, I've experienced that, and well aware of it, and I agree with that. There's one factor on this build that where I don't think it needs the huge amount of fuel tanks, and that is it's got a lot of turbine locations where you can put in turbines, and they'll basically generate power from nothing, basically. enough to easily keep like a farm going. Now, of course, you would still want to have a lot of oxygen. You might not be using the fuel if the ship's just sitting parked and you got some turbines installed, but you definitely do need some oxygen. So I did, up in here, I did install several more oxygen tanks. So there's another 3 oxygen tanks in the build as well. And there's places to put more. But so it does have 9 oxygen tanks in here. It does have 2 fuel tanks as well. And then over in these locations here and down there, I don't have them labeled yet. I got to figure out what I'm doing about the labeling thing on here. I kind of want to make some LCDs, but if I try to release this tomorrow or over the weekend, I probably won't have time to get that done. So I'll think about it. But anyway, you've got 8 locations to install small shield parts. I have 4 over here and 4 up over there as well. So the inner wall kind of going into the rest of the ship is looking like that. And I try to make the ceiling look neat. So a lot of choppy block work and things like that going on in there. Okay, so the next part I did is I went into the bridge/production area. Kind of a weird combo there. And got this all set up. Now, I did remove a lot of stuff, too. I'm trying to gear this up for its total cost and how it's going to come when you get it. Now, there's still a couple more parts I'll probably be stripping out of here. Some of the medical parts, which ramp up the cost a little bit, but I do want to keep some of it intact as well. But in here, another comment suggested that I'm definitely going to want to have it be able to use a universal constructor, and that is a 2x3 sized constructor. So it's bigger than your standard constructors or deconstructors. So I finagled this area around some more to make additional room here to put in a universal constructor. So I figured that would be a nice thing to have. I believe that is used to build like later game high-end parts or like any part, but specifically for more advanced parts. And you would probably want one of these in your, or several of these possibly in your playthrough. So, but not early game. So it's more of a late game feature there. Of course, you could still dump in a standard size constructor there, but I figured that would be a nice thing to be able to fit into the ship here. So on this inside area, it does have a ammo box. Now it has 2 ammo boxes. This might be the main one, but there's a secondary ammo box I put in the ship as well, kind of like a reserve bay in case this one gets blown up or something. Hopefully it doesn't. That'd be pretty bad. But there is a second ammo box in the ship as well, and it also does have 2 small constructors down below it there. I kind of built this little cagey thing here, and also it provides that area for a teleporter, and I do have a sensor up there ready for that teleport. It's probably the only sensor I've got in the ship right now, but if you do place a teleporter there and sign it to it, it will turn it on and off if you walk over it. And I've been dealing with a bit of a logistics nightmare here on how to get LCD placements over the constructors like I normally like to do. And I found locations to add 2 of the LCDs that could put the images over these. I haven't done that yet, but I haven't found any way to put LCDs over these other ones as of yet, unless I bury the LCD projectors. And I haven't found any, well, I can find places to do that with, but I was trying to keep them open so you could alter the text on them. And I'm really failing hard on these back ones. I tried 15 minutes buzzing around the ship trying to come up with some kind of way to do it. And a hard part about it is to not bleed into the creation or into the surface of this. They have to be facing the exact same angle that these are facing, and that makes it all the more difficult. Like I could place an LCD somewhere else and then rotate it to go over here, but then typically what happens is it bleeds into it, and then you've probably seen it where it's all messed up looking. So I don't want that either. Anyway, the production area, again, this does have 320K or 4 320K storage bays in it that are intact. I did remove the armor repair right now too, so you'll be able to pop that back in, but it kind of fits right in above the regular armor locker. The weapon locker doesn't appear to be very expensive, so I left that intact as well. So the next part here, I was working on the farm area. We got some elevators that go up here too. So on the last video, I said I wanted to move the grow plots around. I ended up doing it, but not in the way I thought I was going to do it. I wanted also to keep them centered with the glass on the outside of the ship, because everything was kind of made for them to be in that location. But so what I ended up doing to fix this problem is I pushed this whole floor out one block over here, so it kind of overhangs over the bottom floor. And actually, I think it works well with the kind of ship it is too. It just adds in a little bit more, I don't know, a little chaos on the side of the ship, which I was trying to go for anyway. Kind of a strange ship here, but I was able to push the grow plots out a block towards the windows here, and then have a walk path here, because before they were right up to the glass here, and you couldn't like walk to this side or that side. It was a real miserable setup. So that's why I extended the side of the ship out over there to fit it. Also, I moved the door. The door used to be in the center here. I moved it over to the side and took a little bit of space away from the future core room, just so I could fit the food processors and fridges kind of in a nice convenient area. So now you can walk right in. You got your stuff right there. You got your grow light switches right on the glass in front of the plots. And then, of course, this whole area was all textured up and everything, too. I actually did hook up the grow lights to the switches, too. That's, I guess, one other thing I did do. So, yeah, that room's done, and the hangar's pretty much done as well. Forgot to mention, it does have a place for a repair console down over here, repair bay down here, repair bay up on the flight deck. And then I textured up, I don't know, the rest of the area. I kind of went through this area, stripped out just about everything but what I plan on having it come stock with, which isn't much. Basically a 1x2 generator over here. You still have locations to add a couple more 1x3 generators, advanced generator, fusion reactor, all kinds of turbines, some shield parts, all kinds of things in here. And I think I have a conflicting yeah, I think I put up these decals on the back here, and now some of the decals on the inside here have disappeared. Maybe I can fix that. Maybe I can't. I don't know on that one. But yeah, that's kind of where the ship's at. It's definitely coming together pretty good. Again, there's a couple more parts I wanted to strip out of here, and I think it has to do with the specialized medical equipment puts in some other kind of resource cost that I didn't want in the build. So hold on a second. Just wanted to take those out a second and show you where the stats are at right now. Now keep in mind, I did keep 4 minigun turrets on the build, and I plan on having those on their stock. So when you first spawn this in, say it's planet side, if you give it some 15 mil ammo, which is really cheap ammo to build, you can build it in with the constructors that are in the ship, and you can or whatnot, or I think even build it on other things. 15 mil is not uncommon for ammo. That was also brought up too. Whatever turrets I use, make sure it doesn't use uncommon ammo, because you need to get ammo in there. I mean, immediately after you spawn this in, if it's planet side. Now, if you spawn it in space around a star somewhere that's safe, that's cool too. That's another way to do it. So you don't have to spawn it on the planet. But I was kind of gearing the ship up to spawn planet side, probably on the starter planet. Okay, so the costs on this ship right now. Obviously, CPU is not a thing because it's way below the Core 1 CPU setup here. It has no thrust power when you first get it. But the build time did exceed. I was hoping to keep it under 2.5 hours for the build time, but it is slightly above that. Now it's going to go up a little bit more from here yet because I do have the core room to finish off, but that's nothing but some carbon blocks and maybe a light or something like that. So it's not going to be like anything expensive over there. And other than that, that's really about all. That's more that's going to be put in the ship. But that's basically your build cost. It is up to 106 cobalt, and this is bothering me a little bit. So I keep on thinking I've got something else in the ship that is running the price up a little bit, and I'm not sure what it is over here. But it's generally pretty inexpensive. So about 22,000 iron. I don't know. It's not super cheap, but it is a base. Keep in mind, it is a full production base. Oh, I know what's ramping the cost up. Right now I do have a couple small constructors in and a regular constructor in the build as well. I kind of wanted to keep all that in there, but maybe I should to keep the price down. It should have at least one like normal Constructor in it though. So I'll try to lessen the build time cost a little bit, but it's kind of ballpark what it's looking like. And the only thing that's a little concerning to get early game would be the Cobalt and the Neo. Now you can get this from POIs. I don't think it's a huge amount that it needs or anything like that. It's just I'd like to lessen that down a little bit more if I can, but I'm kind of running out of options there to do that with. So there's not too many more things I can take out of the ship. I did remove things like the pilot seat and passenger seats in here as well. Also, I'm trying a new color in the, or actually a set of new colors in the palette as well for the humans. I decided to go with this kind of beige look. There's actually a couple different shades here. There's a darker shade, lighter shade, and there's even a darker shade that I haven't used yet in the palette. But I was just trying to program in some kind of universal colors for a stock human future RE2 palette kind of thing, and I'm just trying to work out a lot of different colors in it and fill in the palette. And obviously, I think I mentioned this several times before too, that the interior colors are separate from the hull colors. So if you do custom color palettes, which I'd like to get a couple of those built up here pretty soon too, that you could like, hey, you could have the interior look like this, but the outside could be like black or you know, green or something. It could be a totally different color on the outside, and then you could also mess with the color palette on the inside too and change things around in here. So I thought that would be kind of neat. So what's left to do is basically the room up in the corner here, which I haven't touched yet, and this is going to be the core room / a very small little crew room area. I'll probably put a wall right about here, and it's got like a separate door to get into this, and this would be like the core room. I want it to be able to hold a Core 9 setup plus as many other cores as possible. I don't think, hopefully you won't ever need them, but you know, if you do, I'd rather have a location for them than not have a location for them. So that's kind of the way of thinking. So, you know, maybe you could bring it up to, let's see, whatever, Core 12 or 13 or something like that. If I can fit everything properly, at least bare minimum, obviously have a Core 9, and I know I can get more than a Core 9 in there too. So there's enough room for that. And yeah, other than that, that's pretty much the ship. Again, if you missed the last video on hull materials, it's a mixed setup. It's got a steel hull, but only around the interior space, like this big rectangle in the ship up to where the Helios module bay is steel, and then all this trim stuff or in part of the flight deck back over here and along the sides is carbon substrate. It is steel around the thruster housings as well, so except for little trim stuff like these extra blocks on the sides and things like that. So it's pretty straightforward on the hull build and things like that. Gonna have a lot of options for upgrades. I mean, there's so many different parts you can put in this thing, but basically it is, I mean, at the end of the day, it is more expensive than the Janus, and this is kind of like a Helios Janus kind of thing, sort of meant to spawn it in early game. Hold on, yeah, at somewhere around player level 10. Use it for a while before it ever flies around or does anything as a base. And then basically you got like a hangar base and a lot of you know, all the stuff you'd want in a base, except for of course furnaces, which you can't put in a CV. You could add more production, all that kind of stuff. You could even bring in a module and park it in the back if you wanted to. And then eventually you get find or build some thrusters and put in a couple other parts like a pilot seat, and then you're airborne. You can take off, you can start doing everything else with the ship and move around a whole lot of other creations, especially if you get a lot of the better thrusters in place. Now it's designed to hold, it's actually 16 of these 2x4 thrusters in the ship total, and then there's another 8 of the 1x2 thrusters only used for down thrust. So all the other thrusters are the 2x4 thrusters, and it is doubled up on the back side and the lift side of it. So you do have 4 locations to add those thrusters for lift and forward, and the others are just 2 per direction for strafing and reverse thrust and that kind of thing. So at the end of the day, I'm kind of excited about it. I think it's going to work pretty good. I was really, of course, a build like this, is still a pretty good sized ship. It's far smaller than the big Helios, but it is still a decent sized ship, and trying to keep this inexpensive and also provide like some kind of drone defense on it stock. I think it just I was a little worried about the price. It is so much bigger than the Janus. It does have more functionality and a lot more upgrade parts than the Janus too, plus a Helios module bay and a big old flight deck on it for its size. And I don't know. I'm kind of excited. It's getting close to being done. Maybe tonight later I'll be able to dive into that core room and get that area finished up. And beyond there, just kind of look everything over, get the sensors put in place, see if I can figure out some solution with getting the LCDs over the storage controllers. And I think the only other thing I got to do is I got these two 640K filler rooms in here that are just going to be painted black. But yeah, I got to do something with that too. But maybe I can try to rearrange this a little bit again to make these rooms a little more square. But it was more efficient to go the way I'm doing here than it was to just make it all square and pretty due to space things. And I was trying to free up enough room around the corner here so I could put in all this junk over there. And this was the best solution I came up with so far, is to just have the rooms kind of weird. But basically, you just fill them in with a whole bunch of container extensions, and then you put a controller right as you walk in, and bam, you got a 640K storage bay, or two more into the ship, which I think would be really nice for like your main input and output for the production side of things. But other than that, yeah, it's kind of fun. It's getting a little bit of that XCOM feeling with the if you're familiar with the XCOM game or the newer XCOM games, XCOM 2, you kind of like see the interior of a thing, and it kind of, you look at it like this perspective, and it kind of the same idea. It kind of looks kind of like it could be in there or something like it. But I always kind of like that approach to things. But other than that, it is definitely well on its way. There's not that much more to do. A couple more hours of messing with this ship. Get that room finished up and whatnot. I think I can get it finished up. I just got to figure out how I want to handle the part placement. Right now I'm using a bunch of decals for it, which I typically do, but I kind of want to make some LCDs, but then I could, that's another rabbit hole where there's so many different parts of different sizes and so many different LCDs to make, especially if I wanted to make higher quality LCDs with more graphic-y stuff on them and things like that. It would take a while, and I don't think I would have that ready if I were to release this over the weekend. Now, right now, I'm kind of steering for Sunday for a release on this one and not tomorrow. I kind of want that extra time if possible. Also, one last little minor detail, and if you take a look at like the flight deck on the big Helios over here, it's pretty plain, and I was trying to figure out ways without adding too many more lines and things, or doing cut-ins into the hull like I did on this one, on how to make the flight deck look a little bit snazzier. Basically on this one, the only cut-in on the flight deck is this little chunk right here and the two staircases coming up into it, and I did not mess with any of the other blocks. Oh, besides the location to add in a repair bay, which is weirdly off-centered right now too. I might look at that, try to get that centered or push it further off-centered. It's kind of in a weird spot. I actually, when I was placing this, I got screwed up. I was tired, and I thought I was at the center of the ship when I really was not, and I didn't even realize it until later on when I was texturing the top area here. But essentially what I did is I added in like strips of this other texture going through all the textures of the landing pads on this, and from a little bit of a distance, it kind of gives it a little bit of a, I don't know, that different format there, which I think is just a little bit more detailed than what was going on with just your flat, I don't know, whatever texture this is, that texture, I typically use that for landing decks and things like that, walk paths as well. But yeah, I just wanted to give you a quick update on this, and I apologize again for not having a build video out there. I fully intended on doing that. I recorded a whole bunch of stuff, didn't realize how long I was recording for, And then I looked at the video length. Oh my God, it's like 4.5 hours long, and I didn't even finish like the hangar. Most of that was actually spent working on this hangar, which took quite a long time to do. So yeah, sorry about that. I got to come up with an idea of a build video where I can do it in like within an hour or something. Working on these kind of builds, you know, when I get in the mood to really like get some serious work done on it, it's usually 3-4 hours stretches of time, and that's just a long time to try to sit and watch a video. And I don't think many people would want to. I wouldn't want to myself. So that's kind of where that is. One last thing I forgot to mention too that is the left, and I forgot I'd seen this partial block here and some missing blocks. I got to get Wi-Fi in here. I forgot about the Wi-Fi. I did cover oxygen already. Oxygen's done, but I didn't. It needs Wi-Fi, and I'm just trying to find good locations to put it. Basically, I wanted to get the Wi-Fi in the outer parts of the hull, and I was kind of in a debate whether I want like a front and rear Wi-Fi or like four-corner Wi-Fi on here. Four-corner would probably be the most effective, but again, it's a starter, and I'm trying to keep the cost down. So right now, I'm kind of angling on potentially putting a Wi-Fi and trying to make it look pretty, like right on the side of the hangar, kind of in the front middle on the outside, and then try to find a solution of putting maybe a Wi-Fi embedded in back over here on the backside. So then you got that coverage, have more of an area of Wi-Fi coverage around it. If I just went with 2 Wi-Fis, if I went with 4 Wi-Fis, which is more cost, unfortunately, and CPU and all that fun stuff, then I would probably try to get them in the 4 different thruster housings around the creation. So I was kind of on the fence on which way I wanted to go with that too. But when I did work on this a lot yesterday, and I got tired, and I sort of stopped before I got to the Wi-Fi thing, but I was almost trying to finish the whole thing up, but I didn't quite make it. But anyway, that's the update. Please let me know any thoughts or comments about it. I feel like I'm missing a comment or two possibly on some suggestions, and I'm trying to remember all the things that I read that came up. But I feel like I'm missing something. So if I did, it's not because I'm trying to miss it. It's just because I'm dumb. So I don't know what else to say. Anyway, you all have yourself a great day, and yeah, again, let me know what you think. Adios.